Valley, hooey Hollywood. Where any office
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of That Movie Show. Mike Wendt and Eddie McCabe taking you through another week of movie talk. And Eddie, we have a friend with us today, apparently.
Yeah, this is Daisy.
Daisy. Hello,
yeah,
Daisy.
She's a stone cold killer.
Okay.
She moved into my parents moved into a place in New Hampshire, and it was an old Civil War era barn, maybe even older than that. But they bought this house and it was converted and all this stuff. And the people that lived there before, it was abandoned. And there had been all sorts of critters and mice that had moved in. And needless to say, she killed everything. She murdered everything. There was no more mice. There's no more nothing. It's actually pretty funny. She obviously turned away, so you can't see it. But right. She has a collar. She doesn't have any identifying markers on the collar, her name or anything like that.
Sure.
Instead, she has a bell, and the bell my mom put on only because she was sneaking up on birds, and she felt bad and wanted to give the birds an extra chance. So that's why she has a bell on.
Daisy is a gangster.
Yeah, she's a stone cold bitch. And aggressively affectionate.
Oh, okay.
She's been sleeping all day, and now that we're doing the show, she's going to just be here and just headbutting my shoulder, being like, "Give me attention, motherfucker."
Hey.
Yeah.
Hi.
That, and she's extremely photogenic. You can see pictures of her at the Eddie McCabe on my Instagram.
Sweet plug.
Yeah.
You actually, speaking of that, though, I like what you're doing over, I guess it's either on TikTok or now everything does a version of TikTok. I realized the other day that Twitter did it as I was trying to post something. What is it called? Fleas or flies? Fleets?
Fleets.
It's so fucking stupid. And I was literally just trying to send a tweet. And old man doesn't understand the internet for a second because I'm like, what the fuck is this button here? And I do it, and I try to do it, and I fucked it all up. It was terrible. But
you can now post articles on Instagram.
Oh, it's so stupid. Because everybody's trying to be the other guy. It's like, just be you, man. Just be you.
Well, the funny thing is that so
I was trying to give you a plug, but I just kind of went down my own rabbit hole there.
Yeah, well, we can get back to the plug in a second because you're absolutely right. We had MySpace, and then basically it was too crazy, so we had Facebook, and Facebook was the more streamlined version of it.
Right.
And then we decided that we were just going to take everything that Facebook did, but we were just going to break it up into its own thing.
Yep, exactly.
And I'm assuming you're talking about the No Nuance November that I'm doing.
I am. I like your Disney takes today because it's Mickey's birthday as we're recording on the 18th.
Yeah, so I spend too much time on TikTok, and before I almost died, I was doing TikTok. I was doing one thing a day.
You were doing legit TikTok things.
Yeah, I was doing legit TikTok things, and then I got really sick. I almost died, and I stopped. Yeah. So then I've decided that I wanted to get back into it, and I wanted to start producing content there again, and so I figured people are doing these No Nuance Novembers where they're basically just throwing out these hot takes. And the whole point is that you just throw out your hot take and with no context or no nuance, right? And then yesterday I did one where it was all wrestling related.
Right.
And so for those of you who are the wrestling fans here, I talked about how being the elite on YouTube does not need to exist anymore now that you have a 2-hour live show on Wednesday nights.
Hey, third hour coming 2021.
Which
everyone asked for.
Yes, which everyone asked for. And then also Roman Reigns didn't get better at wrestling. He just finally has a character and a point of view. He's far more interesting. So that was the wrestling one. Today is Mickey's birthday, so I decided to do Disney related takes. And so I did 3 different takes on that, which was Frozen 2 is better than Frozen 1. Chadwick Boseman should absolutely be replaced as Black Panther in the MCU. And the Jungle Cruise is the funniest ride at Walt Disney World.
Yes. That one I agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like it. And so you're doing it on TikTok, but I saw it, I think, on Twitter, on the fleets. So you're sharing them everywhere.
I'm sharing them everywhere.
Fleets
so I'm basically,
is such a bad name, by the way. It's a stupid name.
It's yes.
Like even YouTube is doing this, but at least they have a good name. It's called Shorts. It's fucking simple. It is what it is.
Right.
60 seconds. I'm not going to do it, but fuck it, they have it.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna
how much of this shit do I need to keep putting out?
Yeah. The fun thing is that I found this app and it's called Threads. So the video today, basically I recorded it through Threads, and it takes the words you're saying and then creates the caption. So if you watched the video today, there is a closed caption version of it, so you don't have to watch it with the sound on. You can just watch it, and just read, because some people ain't got time for that.
I love how we're oddly regressing. We went from books are stupid, I'd rather watch the movie or whatever, to I'm going to read a video.
Well, wait for next month, because my TikTok, you're going to want to follow me on TikTok, much like all my social medias. It's at the Eddie McCabe. Yes. But I have mapped out, I haven't put them in any order. I've just picked the movies. I am going every day for 25 days of Christmas. I'm going to do a TikTok 1 minute review. Can I help you? She's just knocking shit over on my desk.
God damn it, Daisy.
Yeah. So I'm going to do a 1 minute TikTok review of a Christmas movie for the 25 days of Christmas.
Right. Under on you making it to 25.
Oh, I'm going to do it. I have the movies already listed out. So we're going to make it. So we're going to make it happen. The only thing, excuse you. Oh, at least she's gone. Yeah, you.
Always back there.
Yeah, well, she's just knocking shit over. I mean, she is she's huge. She's 10 pounds. She's a massive cat. But she's very nimble and stealthy as fuck. It's crazy. It's like all of a sudden you'll just be sitting there, and then all of a sudden she's just over your shoulder. It's like, how the fuck did you get here? You were the size of a bobcat. What are you? Wow. How did I not know that you were just following me the entire time? It's the worst when I have to get up in the middle of the night and I'm walking and she wants food because she's a moose. And she's just like, hey, I need food in my dish. And I don't know if she's there. And then all of a sudden, in a half-drunken haze as I'm walking to the bathroom, she comes out of nowhere and just bites my ankle. Where did you come from? So, but, I'm going to do 25.
What you're saying is you're living with a hungry ninja.
I'm living with a hungry, furry ninja. That I need to just always have a lint roller on me.
Hungry, fat ninja.
Yeah. Yeah, who dat ninja?
Where were we going with this?
I'm going to be doing 25 days of Christmas on TikTok. Fantastic. I'm going to do all of them. It's going to be great. That's going to be my new thing.
Maybe in 3 years when we're done with our 30-day film challenge, we'll start reviewing those.
Yeah, sure.
Let's get on to that. Day 16.
The one thing I did. Yeah, the only thing I didn't know to do, and I want to get your opinion, because I'm either going to put both of them on or I'm going to take both of them off. Okay. And that is Die Hard and Home Alone.
They're both Christmas movies.
They're both Christmas movies. Right.
I mean, we covered Die Hard in the archives as a Christmas movie. Yeah.
Well, because I always say this about the whole Die Hard, is it a Christmas movie, is it not a Christmas movie? And the thing is that both of them, the thing that makes Home Alone a Christmas movie is the same things that happen for Die Hard. So they either both are or they both aren't, right? Because... Yeah.
You know what else is? Die Hard 2 and Lethal Weapon. Both of them Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Add them to your list.
Sure, I'll do Lethal Weapon.
32 Days of Christmas. What are we doing here?
Why not?
Jesus only did 12. What the hell are you doing?
You know what? I'm going to do 50. I'm going to do 2 a day.
You know what? 2 times better than Jesus.
2 times better than Jesus and his birthday. Happy birthday, motherfucker.
All right. You want to do this?
Yeah, let's do this. We
should
probably do the show.
Day 16 of the 30-day film challenge. A film that is personal to you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eddie.
So the film that I chose was What's the Worst That Could Happen? That movie that's on TBS sometimes, and you always sit and watch it and are just like, why am I watching this movie? But it's always on.
Mhm.
I know it's always on because I get a check. But this movie is special to me because it was the first major motion picture that I was ever in. I played Boston comedian Lenny Clark's son. I'm in a scene where Martin Lawrence and John Leguizamo get stuck in Danny DeVito's house through laser wires in their like motion sensor house. And they call my family to go and do it. It's really unfortunate because
Just pulled up the IMDb page. Was it the scene where they're in the fucking Arab stuff?
No, not that one. It's the one where they're stuck on the staircase and John Leguizamo has to pee and he's like telling him like it's okay, man, you can just pee, it's fine. Okay,
here's a picture of Lenny Clark. He's in the back seat of Bernie Mac's car. Were you around in this scene?
I don't see it. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, were you there with Bernie Mac?
I did get to meet Bernie Mac.
Nice.
They were talking about like after they robbed the place, they were like back at Bernie Mac's restaurant, and so I got to meet Bernie Mac, John Leguizamo, Martin Lawrence.
Very cool. And for reference sake, because I actually I was upstairs at what was called John Robert Powers. I don't know if it is anymore, acting school, while they were filming this on the street outside the window, which I'm assuming you were down there. Yes. How old were you?
I was somewhere between 8 and 14.
Wow. That's a range. Are you a fucking Comcast worker?
I don't remember. I don't remember how old I was.
Now, you said this was the first major motion picture that you were in. Was it the first one you worked on, and you just weren't cut out of? Because I have that story. That's going to be mine.
Yeah. So this was the first. I had been like an extra and stuff.
Right.
Prior to this, an extra. I was a featured extra in Good Will Hunting. Stuff like that. But this was the first one that I had like a line. I had lines in. Nice. I was supposed to have 14 days on this movie. They ended up running behind. I was supposed to be like a part of the finale. Like because again, like I was part of this like con family. And so like it was me and I had two brothers, and then we worked with our parents and we were just like con artists basically. Sure. And so we were supposed to be in the finale, but it like rained like every day that summer and it was supposed to be an outside scene. So like basically rewriting it and then just doing it in LA.
Got it. Yeah, that'll get you. Get you. Yeah, I gotta rewatch that. And it's one of those things like I was gonna say, is it set in Boston? But Lenny Clark's in it. Of course it is.
Yeah, it's set in Boston.
Okay.
It's funny. It's weird because like it is crazy to me. Yeah. Like it's crazy to me. I don't think it's on any actual streaming services, at least here in the United States. I'm gonna take a look at that real quick. I get residual checks. So basically the way that the SAG contracts work is that you get a percentage of the gross of the film. And I get a check every quarter for that movie. And it like breaks down like how many people watched it and like where they watched it. And it's like, it's crazy. It's like,
the people actually watch it?
Why? First of all, who are you assholes that are actually like, because it's one of them is pay-per-view. And it's just like, who is pay-per-viewing this movie?
That's not a thing. If you want to watch it for free, streaming, it's on Pluto TV, which is a streaming site, and you can get an app. I know I have it on my phone and Roku. But it's also $3.99 pretty much across the board for iTunes, Vudu, Amazon Prime, etc.
Sure.
There you go.
And then I have it on DVD.
Rent it for $3.99. Get Eddie's extra penny or two.
Yeah. Or give me $3 and I'll lend you my copy.
Rent. Go an old school. Eddie's Blockbuster. Oh shit! What was the first movie you worked on? Like ever? Like got hired on? Not even like it doesn't matter if you were cut out of it or not.
Yeah, I think timing works out that it was Good Will Hunting. Okay. My first ever acting gig, right?
I mean, you were like a child in like commercials and shit.
Yeah, so like I had done a bunch of commercials. I remember my first commercial where it was 2 Lucky Charms commercials. I was in like the commercial would play like the cartoon and Lucky the Leprechaun. Oh, don't catch my Lucky Charms and all that stuff.
Right.
And so then it would cut to me where it's like, hey, if you send in like all the box tops or whatever, you would get these like Tiger Electronic toys, if you remember Tiger Electronics back in the day. So it was like a Gigapet, like one of those things. You're too old for that, but they were like a huge deal, those virtual pets.
Okay, so were those like
Tamagotchis.
keychains that you had to feed?
Yes, that's 100% what it is. So it was like you get one of those, you get the brain warp, you get a brain warp, and like a bop it. Like it was.
Did they try to pay you in toys?
They gave me all of them because they had to drill into them to like make this rig so that I could hold them in a certain way. So like in the commercial, you work in television, so you'll understand this.
Sure.
Basically, we had like I couldn't just like, my arms weren't big enough because I was a freaking kid. You know what I mean? To like hold all of them in one arm so that you could clearly see all of them.
Right,
you know, so that they were all properly represented. Because if I was just holding them, it was just like all jumbled up. So they like had to drill into the back of them to create this like metal wire to like mount them on it. And then I would hold that. And then I basically danced in front of an infinity wall and in like a white void. And then the next one was for like stickers. It was for like glow in the dark stickers. Mm-hmm. And I was dressed as an astronaut. And that was what the other one was.
But you're thinking Good Will Hunting was the first movie.
Yeah. I want to say that was the first movie.
Where were you in it?
I was in Southie at a park, I want to say.
You remember like the scene, or was the whole thing cut or?
I think it was cut because I don't remember anything like really.
See, that's
tough.
The tough part, because when especially when you're an extra or background performer, yeah, whatever. It's like people think like, oh, you were in the movie. Tell me about it. It's like, I was like this latest one I did, which I still can't fucking talk about. I just need it to be released so I can tell you all about it, which I'm very excited about. Like it was the most like I was literally a principal actor in it, right?
Right.
That was the title I had, and like I can't tell you what the fucking movie's about. I got one page of non-dialogue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, because
I don't even. So as an extra, it's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm furniture, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm moving furniture. I can't the chair what the fuck is happening in this courtroom scene, because he doesn't know either.
The tough part is that when you're an extra, right, you're also so far away from the action too, right? So like I was in Good Will Hunting, but it was in a park, right? I remember just it being in a park, and I remember Robin Williams being there.
Sure.
You know, but that was it. I couldn't tell you what the scene was because I was way in the back, you know, and I was doing my own thing.
Brought him from afar.
Yeah, I couldn't hear the dialogue or, you know, anything like that. But there were a bunch of movies and things that I was in that I was like principal in, and you're like invested in that. Because
well, you're acting.
know
that's actually
right.
Like that's fucking acting, man. Like that was one of the cool things about doing the movie back in September or October, whatever the hell it was. I don't know, 5 years ago. It was cool because it's
Tuesday.
Like, yeah, exactly. You know, it was last week. It was the day 87 of March. But it was cool because it's like, you know, they brought you over the set and the director was asking me questions and I was able to ask, you know, talk to them, and we worked out the scene. And like, you know, again, I don't like the NDA is 35 pages. I don't know how much I can talk about.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I wanted to say like, oh, I did this and I did that. But it was really cool. And it was like, you know, we always talk about, you know, being creative people. And that was like the first time on a real movie set that it was like I got to actually work my brain and be a creative person and have input in what we were going to do and be like, I don't think that would really work. What if I went like this? And like, oh, that's so much better. It's like, hey, I did something. I contributed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even what little of that one day shoot was, it's like I contributed something.
Yeah, it's fun. It's more fun when you're actually a part of it, right? Because I was in a video and it was on VHS way back in the day, and it taught people how to use the internet. That
Okay.
was like what this video was.
Okay.
It was like sponsored by Lycos, which was a now defunct search engine, probably. I
I
don't know.
vaguely
People don't
remember
use it.
that one.
Yeah. And it was John Turturro was in it, of all people. And so like I hung out with John Turturro,
Hmm.
but that was part of it. It's just like, oh, I'm in this thing from like start to finish, and like I'm working with him and I'm working with the director. I've been in countless, independent films,
Sure.
and those type of things.
Which
And
are a
those you have
lot
a
more fun because you really get
right.
involved.
Well, that's the thing is like these things are so low budget that you have creative input, you have the ability because we're all kind of making this thing together, which
Especially
is really fun.
nowadays when we're not using film because you can do what if I tried it this way? Who gives a shit? It's just
Yeah,
digital.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. We're
If it doesn't work,
recording
we
on
delete a
S.
file. It's not $1,000 in developing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. But there is one very fun scene as an extra that I was in that I remember distinctly. And
Okay.
it's the only one that I can tell you that if I point it out to you, actually I have two extra stories that if I pointed out to you, then you would know that it's me. And one is in The Departed. One is in The Departed, where after Leonardo DiCaprio gets out of prison and he goes and visits his cousin,
Hmm.
they're sitting on the high rise, and there you can just see over Leonardo DiCaprio's shoulder. You can just see the street,
Hmm.
and you just watch me by myself walk by, and then later walk by the. And it's one of those things where it's like, never in a million years would you like be like, oh hey, I can see you and like notice.
Right.
But now that you know where that is, if
Right.
you watch that movie, you
We'll
go,
never be able
son
to
of a
not
bitch.
see it again.
Yeah, you'd be like, you son of a bitch. Yeah, that is you. Because it's 100% me.
Well, that's the funny thing. It was a movie that I believe was made for Italian television, but it was in English and it starred a bunch of American actors. It was called Four Single Fathers. And it's shot in Boston. It was a relatively low budget, but not completely low budget. You know what I mean? Like real actors, real production, real set. But the reason I said it was low budget is they were low on PAs.
Sure.
And if you've done background work, your contact is the PA. It's not like the director's coming over and talking to you. It's like the PA is being like, all right, walk from there to there and don't look at the camera.
Don't look at it.
So they were short on PAs. And me and a couple of the other extras, we were playing fathers in a play. There was a school play happening. And the leads were going to basically get into a fight or something like that, like a fatherly scuffle because one's dating the other's ex-wife or some such shit.
Okay, sure.
And I'm 6'3". I'm a large guy with discernible features. And there's a point in this one scene, because I just kept moving myself around because I was bored that day, that there's 4 of me in one scene. So my quadruplet of brothers are in one scene.
That's
So
so funny.
They're shooting one way, and then on the reverse shot, I'm there, and then on the next shot, I'm there, and on the next shot, and nobody. The only time I got talked to was when a fight broke out, and I acknowledged the fight. I kind of looked, and I'm like, oh, and somebody's like, could you not acknowledge the fight? I'm like, it's a school play. What the fuck? All right, fine, but like, this movie's bullshit.
This movie is bullshit.
And that leads into mine. My choice was the first movie. I've done a shit ton of extra work, as we've mentioned.
Yeah.
This was the first time I wasn't cut out of the movie. I've always said, not so much cut out of the movie, but the first time I was really, like your story, I was really seen in the movie. And if you look at it, it's like I'm there.
Right.
And I always say, like you mentioned, being in The Departed and Good Will Hunting, I've been in pretty much every movie filmed in Boston except the cool ones.
Yeah.
So I don't have the Good Will Hunting or The Departed or the Mystic Rivers or the Black Masses or, I almost was an Edge of Darkness, but because De Niro didn't like Mel Gibson, I didn't work that day.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. I lost out on, I didn't lose, well, they still paid me, but instead of being in the scene, I was cut for the day because De Niro quit the movie. That's my De Niro story.
Yeah, I had a day like that where I was on The Equalizer and I was supposed to be in a scene where they were at Boston Sand and Gravel.
Didn't do that one
and
either.
I sat in holding for 4 hours.
Yep.
And again, this isn't my first rodeo. You know what I mean? I've been acting since I was 8 years old, right? Like I have a decade plus in the film industry, and
sitting around doing nothing is part of the job. Like that's just especially when you're extra.
Right. I brought a backpack full of stuff. I'm good to go. Right. Yeah. I might have been at school at the time, so I might have got some homework done. But they walk in the 4 hours and they're like, yeah, we're not going to get to you guys today. So you can just go home. But because I'm union, they had to pay me for the 8 hours.
Of course they do.
You know what I mean? So I was just like, all right, fine. If you want to send me home and but that movie was way better than the nightmare that if you lived in this area and worked on the movie, you would have thought that movie would have been absolute garbage because it was they're so behind, they're incredibly over budget, it's a mess. But they're upgrading people left and right.
I was just mad when I saw the movie because I spent about a year working at Home Depot, and I would walk the aisles of the lumber department thinking this would be such a cool place to do an action movie. And then I go watch The Equalizer, and that's the whole climax of the movie. I'm like, you motherfuckers are in my brain.
Yeah, right. I also got to do The Town.
See, again, none of the cool ones.
See, this one was really cool. So because I did Good Will Hunting way back in the day, I have this weird thing with Ben Affleck. I'm
of us do.
Yeah. I'm in no way, shape, or form telling you that Ben Affleck knows my name and knows who I am. But when he comes to town to film movies, I end up in these situations. So it's the scene in The Town where and in this one I got brought in specifically. They called me and were just like, hey, do you want to do this? And it's the scene where Jeremy Renner and Ben Affleck go to Fenway Park, but there's a game happening.
Yeah.
And the scene is 30 seconds. Yeah. And so it's just us. I am they had to fill the extra row right on top of that roof deck.
Okay.
And so I'm just sitting there, just watching the baseball game, drinking a beer while they're right behind me doing the scene.
Well, I say it's so weird because it's they specifically called you. That's the back of your head is very important to them.
Well, the thing is that it was this took 45 minutes and then we all hung out and watched the rest of the Red Sox game.
As you do.
And so it was just this is just again, this is just a weird thing that happened.
That's very cool. Speaking of, it's a great segue into my choice because it's Mrs. X Ben Affleck. Jennifer Garner is in this movie. Ghost of Girlfriends Past. Starring Jennifer Garner, Matthew McConaughey, Michael Douglas, and Emma Stone. And so my scene, I did 3 days on the movie. And I had done, like I said, I had done extra work on a number of movies and stuff like that, and been cut out of most of them. I think at the time, I think the most I got was a half a frame at the end of the Great Debaters, which was a Denzel Washington movie, which was you talk, it's funny because they're both Denzel Washington movies, but wow, they had that movie had probably I don't know. Easily 70, maybe 100 extras. All of us went into full hair and makeup, full wardrobe.
Wow.
I worked for 7 days, right? Long fucking 14, 16 hours, 7-day shoot. And like I said, half a frame. Now, granted, the fucking check's cleared. And it was an easy way to I wasn't doing anything that week in the summer anyway. It was a summer shoot. Spent most of the time just laying out in the sun in Harvard Square catching a tan. So it's I'm okay with it. But yeah, wildly it was one of those things where they did an open call in the newspaper and just people were flooding. Because I remember the first day on that one, and I'll get to Ghost of Girlfriends Past in a second. But I remember the first day, there was just a shit ton of people because they literally put it in the paper. If you want to be in a movie, and then all of a sudden everybody and their mother and their friends show up, and then the people who weren't used to this type of work are like, ugh, this is the boringest thing ever. Like, I'm fucking going. And they would leave. Like, half of them left in the middle of the day. We broke for lunch, and like there was like half the people just going home, not checking out, just taking off their clothes and leaving it and going home.
Yeah. I could go on for a while about how, like, we suck as an industry town. Like, Boston sucks as an industry town because you have a bunch of people like that think it'll be fun to be in a movie.
I think I'm going to be in a movie, yeah.
But it's like, no, you're just a prop. You're just a living prop, right? Because it would be weird if I was at South Station and there was no people there.
It's empty.
It would be a lot easier to film the scene if it was like that, but I need people to be in it because otherwise it would look weird, right? And people don't understand that. But then the flip side is that, like, I'm a part of this Facebook group because, again, when you work in entertainment, you have to, like, be a part of social media and you have to be a part of these Facebook groups. And one of them is called the Hollywood East Actors Group. And every Tuesday, there's this thing that happens, and it drives me up a fucking wall. And I absolutely hate it. And it's this idiot that just goes, it's Share Your IMDb Tuesday. So just share your IMDb pages so we can, like, all... so we can all share so we can all, like, help support each other. And it's like, I don't know about you, but again, now as, like, a working actor on one side and an actual, like, producer on the other, the most useless thing in the fucking world is IMDb. Like, no one actually uses that to find anybody.
You know where it works? The only time I've actually had it, like, work, and it didn't, but it did, was for getting interviews. When we do podcasts. So when Billy and I were doing the show, I've mentioned the Danny Trejo incident many times.
Right.
That's how we got his assistant's information, was through because the radio station we were working at had a subscription to IMDb Pro, and because that's interviews. It's as simple as you have the information, you reach out. It's like throwing shit at the wall. You know, they say yes or no.
That's different, right? Because going through IMDb Pro to get to somebody's agent to hire them is very different than a bunch of people that were extras in a movie just sharing their IMDb page that doesn't get anywhere, right? It doesn't, like, you're not putting this in front of anybody and you're not getting any better or anything. And it drives me up a wall because I end up sometimes I end up being grumpy and, like, I'm just like, this is stupid. Like, post your reel. Like, if you want to get, like, actual post and, like, traction.
That's the other bitch about only doing extra work.
You don't have a reel.
You don't have a fucking reel. Like, what are you gonna do? Have a 4-frame reel?
Yeah, you're not. Well, because again, you're not in the movie. You're not in the movie. You are just a prop in this thing. Like, that's not a real acting credit. So, but yeah.
So back to Ghost of Girlfriend's Past. I did 3 days. It was the basic of again, it's one of those movies, much like yours. It's on TBS every other day. And it's a take on basically A Christmas Carol, where how Scrooge goes back and sees the ghosts of Christmas past and etc. This is the ghost of Girlfriend's Past. So Matthew McConaughey's character is traveling through time and seeing his different relationships and blah 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 blah. And it all started with his uncle, who was played by Michael Douglas, who was like this big, swinging ladies' man type of thing. And the scene we were in, it was set in the 80s singles bar type of thing. It was filmed at what was Saint at the time in Boston. I believe it turned into Storyville. I don't know if it's changed again, but it doesn't really matter.
Storyville. Drinking inside a library.
The reason they filmed there is because there's a downstairs bar that at least was at the time wall-to-wall red velvet. It was super sexy.
Yeah, it sounds sexy.
So it's supposed to be like an 80s singles type of bar. And I was given the task of being with this girl, and we were basically again, you're talking to PAs mostly. So the PA's like, all right, you guys walk in, you sit down here, and you order a drink, and then you start talking to each other. Like, okay, I can do that.
I could do that.
I could do that. Because this was another one where they hired a shit ton of extras, but like only a dozen or so of us were used. The rest were in the other room, sitting around watching, trying to get a glimpse of the monitor to see what the hell was happening, type of thing. And that went on for 3 days. They kept calling them back. I don't know fucking why. Anyway, so we're going through it, and we do a couple takes. And this was the first time an actual director came over to me. So the director, Mark Waters, actually came over. There was a bunch of commotion and talking and stuff. And then he came over, and he's like, okay, you two are like right on camera for the whole 2 minutes of this monologue that Michael Douglas is doing. So we kind of want you to be all over each other if you're cool with that. And it's one of those things where you kind of have to side eye, are you comfortable? Are you kind of, because you know what happens if you say no.
Yeah, right.
They get someone who is comfortable, and you go sit in the other room with the rest of the people. Like at least we're doing something. So like, okay, fine. I said yes. The girl said yes. And we spent the next 3 days basically making out on the couch, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
She's on my lap, all this stuff. It was an 80s singles bar, which, fun, cool, okay, different. The neat part was the different days of filming. So the Michael Douglas day was the first day, which was super cool to be in the same room as Michael Douglas, right?
Sure.
No interaction. Like, he was sitting there with his big Dean Martin sunglasses and just doing his thing, and then going back to his chair and sitting down, and everybody's just kind of walking around. It was very weird, but that's his process. Fine. Day 2 comes, and it's this actress, and I'm sitting there, and the whole time we're going through a scene, I'm like, I fucking know her from somewhere. Like, and she was, one of the leads, and I'm like, I didn't know who it was. So I'm going through the whole day, and on the third day, last day of it, she's back on set. McConaughey's on set today. You could tell by the smell in the room. It was a very sexy smell in the room. But I figured out who this actress was. I had just seen her a couple days earlier on an episode of Lucky Louie, which was airing at the time, which was the one season Louis C.K. had a show on HBO. And she was in it, and she was awesome in it. And I remember, I'm like, that's fucking great. So me being me, after 3 days, you get comfortable and you're wandering around and stuff. So they call cut, and everybody stands up, and we're milling around, and they were over there by the monitors watching, and I kind of drift over and just doing my thing, watching, because what the fuck? Nobody's told me not to. I'm not bothering anybody. And she's standing like right in front of me, kind of. And then and she turns around and looks, and she points out, she's like, Jesus, you two are really going at it. And I'm like, part of the job, maybe one of those part of the job type of things. And like, oh, yeah, we kind of have a chuckle, and we're walking back. And I just kind of, again, you get comfortable. And I lean, I go, by the way, I loved your episode on Lucky Louie the other night. And she goes, oh my God, thanks. It was so exciting, blah, 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 blah. That was the Emma Stone.
Yeah.
Before she was Emma Stone. Like, she was just that chick on Lucky Louie at the time. I didn't know she was going to become Emma Stone. So it was kind of cool.
She either just did Superbad or was about to do Superbad too. So
probably in the same area. But also in this movie, she was all like 80s nerd makeup type of thing.
Yeah,
so
she had the braces on. And
so it didn't look like her at all. Like I said, I only kind of recognized her because I had just watched that show. So we go through the rest of the day, and all is well with the world. It's a fun 3-day shoot. And we wrap, walking down the street, heading towards Boylston to catch the train. And there's, the line of trailers, and one of the doors open up, and I'm walking, I'm fucking around on my phone, probably texting people or whatever. And, this guy is keeping pace with me, and he's just walking, and I'm walking. And I look up from my phone, and it's McConaughey, and he's just walking in the same direction I am. He's probably going someplace to get something to eat. And again, it's one of those weird, like, the unwritten rule. You don't talk to the actors if you're an extra type of thing, because they're not people, whatever. But at this point, we had wrapped. I wasn't coming back. And again, after 3 days, you get comfortable enough. And I just looked over and pulled the cheesiest, hey, great working with you this week, man. And him being yes, but what are you gonna do? It's McConaughey. What am I supposed to say? Like,
Yeah, right.
I wasn't gonna fucking fanboy out, despite the fact I'm fanboying out inside.
Sure.
And he's McConaughey, and he just looks me up and down. He's like, and he's like, he goes he's like, oh yeah, it was a good time, and looks me down. He goes, it's those boots, man. They wardrobes. And I go, no, I was wearing cowboy boots, and I was going through my cowboy boot phase. And I go, no, they're mine. He goes, all right, man, they're good. And just walked off, and I'm like, oh, it was so cool. He did the all right, man. And he fucking, like, even now, like, it's been what? It was 2009. So even like, fucking 11 years later, and it's still one of the coolest things. And everybody's like, oh, why didn't you get a picture? I'm like, because I'd rather have that memory.
Yeah, that moment's better.
You know
I'm
what I
not
mean?
a picture guy either.
Like, I don't, like, trust me, I'll take a picture with a motherfucker, but
sure,
I had that moment, and my first instinct wasn't, hey, social media likes. It was, I now can tell this story forever. The story of Matthew McConaughey stepped out of his trailer and I grabbed a selfie with him is boring. He dug the cowboy boots I was wearing and gave me an all right, man. And I was like, fuck me, that's cool.
Sharing, and I've told this story on the show before, but sharing a pizza with Henry Winkler is better than a picture with Henry Winkler.
And both of these come from shit movies.
Right. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So when it was so when he said that and he started to peel off, like all the female extras had just left the club and like saw him did a big shriek, and I gave one of those, enjoy the rest of your day, and he's like, you too, man, have a good one. And I'm just like, he's so fucking McConaughey. I was being such a douchebag. Like, at least that's how it felt. I was just trying to not be like, Dazed and Confused, tell me more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
But I was just trying to be normal. But he's just so like he's McConaughey. He's the coolest motherfucker ever. Like, like he just, like I love that. Like, I love having that story. And even the fact that like Emma Stone was impressed with my makeout abilities was pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like all that weird shit that didn't require me being a dick and taking a selfie.
Yeah. Well, it's always better because it's like, I've had long conversations with stars that would never have happened if I asked for like I got to chat with Bruce Willis, like I got to talk to Leonardo DiCaprio. I got to talk to John Turturro. Like, these are things that I got to do that, Bill Murray, like there's a long list of celebrities that I've met and had I've had the ability to have conversations with that wouldn't have happened if I just asked for a photo, because if you ask for a photo, you're not treating them like an equal,
right?
You know what I mean? And that's kind of the biggest thing is like they're just working too,
right? 100%.
And so
it's one of the like I was an extra again on a pilot that never got picked up. It was called Boston's Finest. Boston's Finest ended up becoming a Boston version of Cops, produced by Donnie Wahlberg, but this was something different. This was a episodic, cop drama set in Boston.
Right.
And it starred Mila Kunis and Nia Long and Katie Sackhoff. And the only reason I know is because Katie Sackhoff just started doing a bunch of YouTube content, which is really fun. So you should check it out. Like, she watched, her first film job was Halloween Resurrection, and she actually just watched it for the first time on YouTube. And did like a reaction video, which was pretty fun and cool.
Yeah.
And just I've always just kind of been a fan of hers, even before this moment. And it was one of those shoots that was just so long. Like, we started at 10 a.m. We didn't finish until about 8 a.m. the next day. So it was the opening scene to a television episode. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was one of those things that like around they cut all the extras with the exception of me and two others around like 10 o'clock at night. And it was me, two other guys, and Nia Long, Katie Sackhoff, just the five of us till fucking 8 a.m. And to say people were tense
by
like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Because I've walked the same goddamn route, and it just so happened to also be Katie's birthday that day.
Sure.
So again, around like 9-10 o'clock, they do the big birthday, happy birthday. They bring a cake out. Everybody's having a good time. Around 3 a.m., her birthday's not so happy anymore.
No, it is not.
There was a moment where her character came in, and again, it was a laundromat scene. So I walk in and walk behind a washing machine. That's it. So I they call cut, and I plop my ass back in the same chair, open the Herald for the 47th time that day to try to find something interesting to document, because my phone had died long ago.
Yeah, of course.
And she plops down next to me, and I'm not going to say what she said. But she was not happy with the director. Let me just put it that way. And again, it was one of those points where after so many hours, you just become comfortable, and it's like, well, if I get fired at this point, I don't really give a shit.
And that means I get to go home.
Because she was so pissed. And I just kind of looked over I put my Herald down, I look over, and I just go, happy birthday, Katie. And there was that moment of tension, like, oh, fuck, I'm fired. I'm so fucking fired. And she just put her head down, gave me one on the knee, and she's like, thanks, man, I really needed that. And got up and went back into the scene. I'm like, okay. Again, we were working at the time, so there was definitely not going to be a photo taken. My phone had died. But it's like, I have that story, which I cherish a hell of a lot more than the selfie I grabbed at the opening of Wahlburgers with Mark. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The amount of times I've met Mark Wahlberg is like way more than any other celebrity, just because I was always going to those Wahlburgers parties, but I've never said 2 words to the man besides, hey, can we grab a picture?
Right.
You know what I mean? But funnily enough, at that same party, had a weird, fun conversation with Johnny Boychuk after a Bruins game, because they had just played and a bunch of the Bruins came out to the party, and everyone was trying to hang with Mark in that area.
Sure.
And those of us that were like, I'm not fighting a crowd to grab a selfie, we're just kind of hanging back. And I just, again, one of those moments where you just kind of lean back and I look over, it's like, oh, fuck, it's Johnny Boychuk. Hey, man, you really punched the shit out of that guy last night. He's like, oh, I know. Look at my hand. It's like, you know what I mean?
That's a good one.
Like 2 guys just having beers, watching a bunch of assholes trying to get selfies with Mark Wahlberg. And we haven't even started the movie yet, by the way.
No, we're like an hour in.
All right. Enough, look, again, you want to hear more movie talk from Eddie and myself. I don't know. Beg us to do a Patreon. We'll do it. But let's do Pump Up the Boy.
Everybody knows that the dice are loaded. Everybody rolls with their fingers crossed.
Think about it. Everything's polluted. The environment, the government, the schools, you name it.
Good guys love.
We're on 92 FM tonight, and it feels like a nice, clean little band. No one else is using it, and the price is right.
Are you listening to this? Yeah, of course I'm listening.
There's nothing to do anymore, and all the great themes have been used up, turned into theme parks. So I don't really find it exactly cheerful to be living in a totally, exhausted decade where there's nothing to look forward to and no one to look up to.
He's got a pirate radio station. Nobody knows who he is.
I could be that anonymous nerd sitting across from you, and when you turn around, and he just looks away. Never looks back at you again.
This is a song for the 90s. Welcome to Dorina Central. May I take your order, please?
Yeah, I want...
That was deep.
I like the idea that a voice can just go somewhere
Uninvited, like a dirty thought in a nice, clean mind.
I know you. Not your name, but your game. Come to me, or I'll come to you. So you are him.
What I give for a kiss? What am I gonna do? Why can't I?
Guess who? It's me again with a little attitude for all you out here in white bread land. It's 10 o'clock. Do you care where your parents are?
This radio person is the whole problem. Are we going to allow this guy to be heard by anyone who can turn a dial?
Jail! I'm gonna stay here! I like it here!
And he's trying to tell you that there's something wrong with this school.
Rise up!
You're not supposed to be
What do you want to slam me? Come on, Bill. I'm a big fan of yours.
Get off the
Get out!
This is out of control.
Why not do something crazy? It makes a hell of a lot more sense than blowing your brains out.
FCC, you know what that means?
This phone call has been traced.
This is my life you're screwing around with here, you know?
Not anymore, it isn't. This is everyone's life. Mark, you can't leave it like this.
You out there? You listening?
Pump Up the Volume, the film that created podcast, Eddie.
Yeah,
basically.
You know, it's funny because I had never seen this movie before, so I didn't know. Yeah, one, it was very hard to find. We'll get into how I watched this movie in a little bit, but I didn't know what you meant, and you kept talking about it. I also thought it was that movie with Brendan Fraser where they take over the radio station.
That's Airheads.
Yeah, I thought we were watching that, so I was definitely surprised when it was Christian Slater.
Yes. So Pump Up the Volume was released August 22nd, 1990. It had a box office of $11.5 million. No budget available here on my research. It was written by Allan Moyle, directed by Allan Moyle, and stars Christian Slater, Scott Paulin, Ellen Greene, and Samantha Mathis. And yeah, it's basically, and a very young Seth Green was in there. Did you see him?
Very young Seth Green. I saw him real quick.
Young mulleted Seth Green.
Yeah, he went on. He probably did this, and then did what was the roller skating movie that he did right after
in the
that?
Cube? Was he in that? Because Christian Slater was. Was that Christian?
No.
Roller skating. I think.
Yeah, Pepe the Shark.
What is it?
There was like a thing with Pepe the Shark. I'm gonna pull it up because I absolutely Airborne. Airborne is the movie I'm thinking of.
Okay, I do remember that. Wow. Yeah. So this movie, I'm a huge fan of this movie. I was this hit me like really, like I was a 90s kid, so this really hit me with the music. I was an Ice-T fan. I was one of those, literally the kids in the opening, the suburban youths who love listening to that Ice-T gangster rap shit. That was me. Like this was me. And then oddly enough, I became a weirdo that started podcasts. So this movie is like really cool to me. But very, very hard to find. I was excited because for a while, and I mentioned the music, and that's always been a thing. And I mentioned in the last couple of shows when we were talking about it, the music's fantastic in this. I mean, not just like I said, Ice-T, but stuff you wouldn't hear in movies, like that rare Beastie Boys track, Leonard Cohen, Soundgarden, everyone's a lot of grungy 90s shit. And it was kind of cool how it all came to be. Like the Leonard Cohen song, I guess the director, Allan Moyle's girlfriend or wife or something was friends with Leonard Cohen's sister or daughter or something like that. There was a weird connection, and that's how Everybody Knows became the theme song to Happy Harry's radio show. Okay. A lot of that type of stuff, which of course is great at the time when you have those, handshake deals. But then when you try to release the movie on streaming or Blu-ray and everybody wants their check at that point, it becomes very problematic. Right. And that's why. So it was released on Amazon Prime like maybe a month ago when I sent you the text that, hey, by the way, we're wrapping up 3 years. Let's do the movie that created podcasts. It's on Amazon Prime. It's never been streaming before. And now it's gone.
Oh, yes. I had a very complex work week that we're already way over time, so I'm not going to get into. Right. But I went to watch it today before we started recording, and I couldn't find it because it wasn't on Amazon. Right. And I was just like, shit, where am I going to find it? I ended up finding it on YouTube on a playlist where I watched the movie in 4-minute video chunks. And unfortunately, the experience wasn't bad because there was no ads at all. Okay. So it wasn't like I kept having to like skip ads and stuff. Sure. But it just went from one video to the next. So it was a very well done playlist. But yeah, that's how I had to watch it. So I'm watching it and I'm like, it's only in 24 parts. Like, I'm going to assume it's the whole movie, but
I believe it
might not be.
And again, like I said off air, it's like you should have texted me because yes, the only place you can find it is that it's that weird website archive.com or .org, excuse me, archive.org, where I found the Shining miniseries that we begrudgingly did. But it's weird. It's like you go there and that site has some gems, especially like if you can't, I don't know if you can't find something, but if you want to see some like old commercials from TV, there's a lot of that. Yeah. A lot of VHS rips are on there, and this movie was on there. Of course, me being me, I own it on DVD. Of course, but yeah, it's like you said, it's hard to find because not only is it not streaming, like I said, it was only on Amazon Prime for like a month, which now I'm assuming was a mistake.
Sure, yeah,
but you can't because you can't rent it online.
No.
It's not like you can go to iTunes or Amazon or YouTube and pay $3 and rent it either. So it's very hard to find, which is a shame because it's a really, really, really good movie. Which based on our time, let's jump into it.
Yeah, sure.
Happy Harry Hard-On is Christian Slater's character's radio moniker. Christian Slater plays Mark Hunter. Again,
straight
very
up Gen X.
Yeah.
Like it's very much of the time. Everything about him it's funny because it is very much Gen X, but it also fits a lot with what is like going on today with the youths. Yeah. Where the entire thing is that he's really this introverted, shy kid out in high school that can't talk to people. Right. And this is, he created this pirate radio station and created this persona that people absolutely love and adore. But he just created this image and that's who he is on this space. And it's very similar with, we talked about it earlier with like, people like youths on TikTok, right? Or Instagram, and they're creating these personas online to kind of make these lives better than they actually are.
And yeah, I mean, it's social media is a very direct link to it, but it's almost it's any one of us that does shit like this. It's like, you look at like I look at the shit that I was doing on Wicked Bites. It's like I was being a lot cooler than I really am. I don't wear those fucking shirts and stuff like that and comb my hair like that. It's like I was playing. It's I always look back, and this is again because I grew up watching pro wrestling, but what Steve Austin always said about his character. Oh, I just take my personality, turn it up to 11. It's like that's kind of what you do in this type of thing, and it's very similar to what Christian Slater's doing in this movie, where it's like he's putting out this over sexualized, but like this massive personality, which is part of him. It's just not like you said, he's very shy and he can't he's not as cool as he wants to be, he's not as cool as he is in his own room. And it's that to modernize it, it's that hiding behind a keyboard type of thing, where it's like you're the coolest guy and the toughest guy, and when you're typing on a keyboard, but then you go meet somebody and it's like,
it's you have all the insecurities and you're awkward, and it's crazy because I always talk about any of the content that I create online, whether it's this show, whether it was New Age Insiders or any of the other weird nonsense things that I do, is that you're just screaming out into this void.
Right.
And that's, you're not owed anybody to listen, and you're not owed anybody to pay attention to anything that you do. And that's where a lot of people kind of falter when it comes to this. And that's where I really kind of looked at, Harry Hard-On. But that's where I kind of looked and saw myself in a lot of it, because there's a need for him to do it. Right. And there's a lot of people that kind of do this sort of thing. They start a podcast, they start a blog, they start a vlog, they start a YouTube channel, Instagram, whatever. Right. And the goal is to get famous. And then when that doesn't happen quickly, they immediately lose interest. Whereas
it's also it could be also looked at as a little different, because I saw it as there was a couple of lines in the movie that kind of explained why he's doing this pirate radio station. his parents bought him a shortwave radio because they obviously, Christian Slater's family moved from back east, we're assuming New York, moved to Arizona because his dad got a job at the school. And he's been displaced, so they got him a shortwave radio to talk to his friends back east. Because in this time, late 80s, early 90s, long-distance phone calls still were a thing. They still cost money.
A lot of money.
But he couldn't reach anybody, is what he said. So, and he had this equipment, and so he started talking, and it felt to me like something he was doing, like a lot of people do podcasts as well. You're doing it because you enjoy it, because it's something you have even a light passion for, and ultimately, for a lot of us, and for clearly him, it can be partial therapy, a weird form of therapy. And especially because he was playing that teen angst type of thing, the grumpy Gen Xer in high school type of thing. It was therapy for him and for the other kids in the school. The problem starts, and he also said this line where he's like, I didn't, it was a sarcastic line, but it's something that we all say in podcasting. It's like, yeah, I'm just talking to my 3 listeners out there. We don't. Most of us, I guess, I can't speak for everybody, but you don't expect to be talking to 1 million people. But
no,
I mean, what this movie did, even more so than, I know I jokingly say created podcasts, it pretty much created the viral media, where like he started this goofy pirate radio station where he's just talking dirty on the radio. And all of a sudden, all these kids started picking it up, and they're tape trading, and they're bringing it to school, and all of a sudden, it became like a marching cry for this whole generation of kids in this Arizona high school, basically.
Yeah, it's really funny because like this movie, like I said, I didn't know what to expect going into it, and I still don't know what I necessarily expected going into it. Maybe
you
more of
Adam Sandler farting on a snare drum in Airheads.
Yeah, I expected a little bit more of a comedy. And so when it was kind of like addressing serious tones, like right off the bat, where, you deal with a kid's suicide, and like clearly there's this thing going on with this girl and her dad, and like, you just don't know exactly what it is, and right away. And it was just like, oh, this movie has so much heart. And like we did Pool Boy Drowning Out the Fury last week, or the last episode. And that movie had no heart and no soul. And it was just a chore to get through because of it. And this movie has so much heart and so much soul that it's just like, oh, I am 100% okay with watching this on a YouTube playlist because I'm engrossed in what's happening. Even though a whole lot doesn't necessarily happen, it's engrossing, right? Because even like, I feel like the end of the movie basically just like, I always equate it to the end of Grease when Rizzo comes out of nowhere and just goes, I'm not pregnant. Like, where it's just like, oh yeah, we just had to wrap up that plot line, and that's kind of what ends up happening in this movie, is that, all of a sudden we find out that it's just like, yeah, I've been expelling the kids that have poor test grades so that I can get better funding and better stuff. And it's just like, it doesn't feel like that was the crusade we were on this entire time. I'm glad we got there, I guess.
There's a lot of this movie that is we need to do things because it's a movie. So like the evil school, and they actually are. Like the movie at its core is, like I said, a bunch of teen angsty, grumpy high school kids in Gen X that are pissed off because they got to go to school, and parents, man, we've all been there. But in the movie, because it's a movie, the school actually is evil and is basically like, I don't know, are they killing people because a girl got pregnant? I don't know, maybe. Is there monsters eating children? I don't know. They made the chick from Little Shop of Horrors disappear.
Yeah, right. They're just pulling
Which I'm
kids
sorry,
off a bus.
That's all I can see. Every time I see Ellen Greene, I'm like, oh, it's Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors. Like, I can't see you as anything else.
Yeah, no, they pull those kids off the bus like the Gestapo, and they just disappear. We're going to the office.
I mean, who's that? What the teacher who was pulling the kids off the bus, and he was like on a pissed off crusade. He's like, he comes into the faculty meeting. By the way, I don't think there's any classes because there's a lot of hanging out outside, and the teachers are always drinking in the faculty lounge. Nobody seems to be teaching shit. But he comes in, he's like, I found graffiti on the roof. What were you doing up there?
Yeah. Also, how on the roof are we talking? Like a part we can see, or just like the top part? I don't know. That's weird.
I found graffiti on the roof, but it's been removed.
Yeah, and
where have you been? There's a history class that is really lacking a teacher right now.
Yeah. Right. Well, and it's like the whole thing is that he's so mad about the music.
Oh.
Yeah. He's like, and it's just like none of the music, and maybe it's because I'm just older, and like that stuff would have been like easily accepted. Like,
I mean, they started off with, like I said, with the suburban whites playing Ice-T's "Let's Get Butt Naked and Fuck," which I definitely had on tape.
Yeah. Right.
So, off his third album, Iceberg. I'm an Ice-T fan. Fuck off.
Okay.
I said, one of the happiest moments was a 3,000 Miles to Graceland tweet getting retweeted by Ice-T. That was a big one for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that was, what the kind of point of it was. It wasn't that the music was not always. I mean, that Ice-T song, obviously, and that was literally like they looked at that album, which probably came out around that time, and was like, oh, there's a song called Let's Get Butt Naked and Fuck, which is very graphic for 3 minutes. Let's play that one just to set the tone. Then we can get into this cool deep cut from the Beastie Boys, and we can get this Henry Rollins song on, and actual music. But I think ultimately, the Fresh Prince said it best. Parents just don't understand.
Yeah, parents just don't understand. I think it's really funny because it's like he's basically starting this movement, and like it all stems from that boy that, like, I mean, talk about a heavy like catalyst, right? He's talking about this boy that just murders himself.
Oh yeah.
And it basically jumps off this whole chain of events where, you look at the parents. It's this movie, for as shitty and shallow as Pool Boy was, this movie is so deep because it's like all of the parents in this movie are trying to blame somebody.
Sure.
It's somebody else's fault.
Sure.
It has to be this DJ, this pirate DJ has to be his fault that this boy killed himself. It can't be our expectations and the way that we're handling him and how we're not like actually communicating with our kids and we don't know what's actually going on. It can't be that. It has to be this person, this faceless person that's the villain. And it's just like, oh my God, that is so relatable. It's so relatable.
And it's like, it's weird because, like I said, the movie gets into movie stuff and the ending, I mean, the FCC shows up, the dad from Teen Wolf shows up as the FCC head, and all they're chasing him around. The ending has a lot of holes that we can poke into it, but
it also doesn't conclude.
No, it really doesn't. It just freeze frames like a made for TV movie. Like, we're going to jail.
Yeah, right. Like
together
that was
again, going to jail. Pirate radio.
Yeah, I was like, that was the part, because like that was the part that made me think. I was just like, I feel like there's more to this movie that I haven't seen, but they did freeze frame, so it has to be the end, right? Like
they freeze frame at the end of a 1990 movie. It's the end.
Yeah, it's the end, right?
It's a 90s version of Cut to Black.
Yeah.
But the way that they handled it, after the kid killed himself, that monologue Christian Slater delivered, I liked the part where he was like, he was basically being like, look, I wasn't being not sympathetic. I didn't tell him not to do it. Like he
right,
because it added that, like, oh yeah, this is a real person. He's not an asshole. He's like an actual, and you can see that when he's in school, and he's again, he puts on his Clark Kent disguise, which is a pair of glasses.
Yeah, right.
But he's in school, and he's just your average shy kid who's going through his own shit and trying to work out his own shit. And this is how he works it out, is by doing this pirate radio station, which again nowadays would be, you start a podcast and you start working out your own shit if that's what you want to do on it.
YouTube channel.
Jesus Christ, we spent 45 minutes telling our own personal stories. You know what I mean? It's
right.
That's what we do. It's our outlet. It's now it's more accessible to everybody. I mean, literally, you have broadcasting studios in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
Back then he had a whole room of equipment, which he, Inspector Gadget the fuck out of when his parents walked in. Did you see? Yeah. Oh, we're closing this and we're shutting this. It was like one of those old timey casino comedies where it was like the bootleg casino in the fucking Frank Sinatra movie when the police walk in, all of a sudden the tables are flipping over and turning into pianos and
right.
Nothing to see here, Sammy.
Yeah. Oh, what are you talking about? We don't.
What are you doing in here? Nothing. I'm reading. We heard you yelling to go fuck yourself. Who were you yelling? What were you reading? And then, but yeah. So, I liked a lot of this. Which I know we keep shooting ourselves in the foot by doing movies that we like, and next week's not going to be any better. But I love these types of movies, and like the character of Samantha Mathis' character, Nora De Niro, which it was weird they kept saying her full name, Nora De Niro. I'm Nora De Niro. Yeah. Nora De Niro. Nora De Niro. Nora De Niro. It's like, Jesus, man, what the hell's what's with you? It's like when people say I don't know. It's weird when people say their names a lot, and I know it's a movie thing because you're establishing a character,
right?
But
it's still
you guys should know each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yes.
But her character was she's fantastic in this, and her character was fantastic. The whole and even she was working out her own shit by writing those dirty letters to Harry, right. where she's like, oh, I'm not really like this, but maybe I am, and blah blah blah. She's right. got her own thing, and again, they're portraying teenagers. They're portraying kids who think this is the way the world is. You know what I mean? Right. Christian Slater is portraying a guy, because he keeps referring to wearing nothing but a cock ring. By the way, Christian Slater's real voice is a hell of a lot better than the voice he was using in this movie.
Yes.
Like all of a sudden because I completely forgot because I haven't rewatched this in years, but I forgot that he used the voice changer, and it was like, oh my God, Christian Slater has a much better radio voice than the voice changer voice he was using in this movie. It's dude, I get it. You're hiding your identity, but you didn't talk much in school anyway. Who the fuck you hiding it from? Because all of a sudden he turns into fucking Jack Nicholson in real life. It's like, where's this voice come from? I keep losing my train of thought.
They just start doing movie things because it was just like even her.
Well, the movie has the movie.
The movie does have to movie. That's probably my biggest criticism of this because again, it's like we shoehorned in the last 5 to 10 minutes that the principal was evil the whole time.
Sure.
It was so that's probably my biggest criticism of this movie, where it was just like, oh, this is clearly back in the actual Hollywood days, where it's just like, oh yeah, they're not gonna get this movie unless we have a clear cut villain.
Well, it was just harder to. I feel the studios probably saw it was harder to release movies like this without the classic. You need a good guy, you need a bad guy. Because otherwise it would be like Richard Linklater's Slacker or something like that. I mean, even Dazed and Confused being the movie it became is super cool because it's really a movie about nothing. It's just a movie about people hanging out and chatting and hanging out with friends. And there is no overarching villain in the movie. You know what I mean? And that's another one. And the only reason I reference that is because it's another movie that takes place within high school and dealing with kid bullshit. Pink doesn't want to sign his commitment to his football team paper. That's the big drama of the whole fucking movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
In this one, the studio obviously took a look at it. Was like, well, can we make them aliens?
Yeah, right. Can we Can we do
I
that?
mean, we got
Can we
the
do
government coming in with the FCC. You know what the fuck?
Yeah, right. Can we? I don't know.
The end chase scene, just as someone who knows a little bit about broadcasting, wouldn't work.
No,
not in 1990 with that shoddy equipment he was using. I mean, he wraps a fucking battery and puts it in the back of a Jeep, and I don't know. All of a sudden, he's mobile broadcasting. I can barely get a cell signal.
Yeah, the problem with that, like I'm gonna suspend disbelief on that one and be like, all right, cool. Yes. We have to heighten because he has to get to where everybody's gathered. Like that makes sense. Mm-hmm. The thing is that it's like he ends up getting arrested, and we don't even get classic 80s like, oh, but then he was let off on a technicality. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't get anything. Like, what happened there? Like, this is not a complete story.
The FCC threw him in the deepest, darkest, pound-me-in-the-ass prison hole.
Yeah, where it's just like, which again, I don't, like, aside from, like, I don't know what the penalty of pirate radio is. But it doesn't. I don't think it's
$1,000 fine or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's like SWAT team level, like arresting.
Literally, it became the end of ET. The government's coming, run!
Yeah, and then on top of all of that, it was like, if anything, we didn't like the plots never connected. Like the principal being evil and. Christian Slater, rallying the kids never intersected ever. Right. Like they never, they
never concluded that story, which also probably leads to thinking that it was simply added just to get the movie released. You know, I mean, and I can't say whether it was or it wasn't, but it feels like you said, it feels like something that they threw in there just because the studio needed a clear-cut movie villain.
But it's like
it really wasn't that important.
Yeah, well, that wasn't important, but again, like that's not an ending. Like I didn't, so like at the end of Fight Club, right? Like Fight Club has a bleak ending, right? Mm-hmm. Where they're standing there watching all of these buildings blow up.
Right.
And you still have like closure at the end.
Sure.
Like even as something as simple as like, you really met me at a very interesting time in my life. It really wraps up the whole like it wraps up the whole movie. Right. Whereas like her just like grabbing Christian Slater while he like watches them all chant for him, like is just a thing that it was just like, well, he was never after admiration. Yeah. Like it wasn't like he was trying to finally be recognized.
No, quite the opposite. He did not. He even went so far as to put sunglasses on when he got his mail.
Right. Yeah.
Really
so it's just like
identity.
And then you got arrested, and it's just like, so then we didn't. What happened? What happens now? Like I feel like this is where.
I mean, it's also. I mean, yeah, that there could have been. The bitch of it was it also ran at about 1:40, and this isn't a movie that could have gone 2.5 hours. So they would have, and clearly they wanted that evil school plot line, so they would have had to take that out to kind of wrap it up appropriately. But I feel it would have become like if we had to. We've done this for a couple movies. So the Good Will Hunting one is probably our better one, where we literally booked the sequel.
Sure,
but. If we were to expand on what happened to Mark Hard Harry, I think it's one of those things that once it's revealed who he is, it's almost like you don't want to meet your heroes type of thing, because he's been this iconic thing to all these kids, and now it's like, wait, it's that fucking kid from English class?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's tough because like again, there's more to the story, but I don't know, and I guess this ending's better than anything they could have done because, like, I don't know where we go from here, right? Because I don't understand why, like, the FCC was like blaming this guy for the FCC or the principal and all of the teachers were blaming this guy for all of the students and all of their problems, and I don't necessarily see the connection where it was just like, oh no, the principal was actually like expelling all of these kids, and that's what caused it. And this kid just happened to be the voice. And you know what I mean? Like, it's weird because it's like, it's the logical conclusion. I just don't know I just don't know what happens next. And like, it's,
I mean, Christian Slater has been doing interviews for another movie he's working on, Dirty John, the Betty Broderick story, or maybe it's a TV show. I'm not 100%. It's on the USA Network. Either way, in a number of the interviews, they, again, because it's coming up on that anniversary, 1990, 2020, et cetera, they're asking him what he thought of Pump the Volume. And in one of the interviews, he said it was, that's my favorite movie, my favorite job I've ever done. I felt it was way ahead of its time. It wasn't your typical high school movie. It really did get into some of the more darker, gruesome details of what it's like to have be living as a teenager in high school. He's also gone on to say it's one of those movies he would love to revisit. Meaning, like what happened, like you're saying, what happened to Hardcore Harry or whatever the fuck his name is? Does Hard Harry become Joe Rogan?
Right.
Is he like the ultimate podcaster, or does he just become a mailman and move on with his life after he gets arrested?
It's so tough because it's like there's nowhere for it to go, right? Like it's tough because they painted themselves into a corner, and I think they got the best ending they could. I just don't think the ending was great, but I don't think that they could have had anything else because again, it's just like.
Well, it's also one of those movies, like it's I referenced Dazed and Confused. It's a movie that could just continue to just go on and on and on because it's a day in the life type of movie. Right. It's not like even the conflict they added with the evil school and the teachers and the principal and all that stuff. That's it's a loose conflict at best, and it's really more a movie about these kids, and it's not like it ended on graduation. So it's just one of those. It could just keep going. It could become a 10-part Netflix series, basically. Right.
It's like the way that movie ends is that he ends up getting arrested, but I don't know why. Because again, I can't imagine that just pirate radio like that can't be an arrestable offense if you're not hijacking a signal that's over, right? So in Boston, 98.5 is the sports talk station, and it's a very popular sports talk station. So if I hijacked 98.5 as a frequency, I could assume that I would get into a lot of trouble, right? Yeah. Because they pay for that. Maybe I get arrested there. But it doesn't seem like he's doing that. On the contrary, it seems no different than when back in the day before we had Bluetooth connectivity into our cars. I don't know if you had one of these, but we had these tuners, and you would plug your phone into the tuner and you would find an empty radio station in your car. Yep. And if it was 99.2, right, and there was nothing on there, you could broadcast a signal from your little tuner to play your iPod to your car stereo. And it feels like he was doing something like that. 99.2 didn't have anything on it, and so he was just broadcasting out into the void, which I don't think the FCC would have cared about.
They do, though.
They do.
Unfortunately, they do, because you're 100% right. It's basically because the FCC governs the airwaves, for lack of a better term, and radio stations have to get a license to broadcast, and because of that license, you have to follow the rules of the FCC. It basically, the easiest way to explain what a pirate radio station is, as far as legality is concerned, is basically if you opened up a speakeasy. It's like serving alcohol without a license. Would he get arrested? For what he was doing, yeah, probably. He would have got arrested. Would it have been a serious thing? No. His parents would have bailed him out, and he would have been faced. What you could get is the fines could be up to $100,000 a day with a maximum fine of $2 million. Basically, $100,000 per day that you broadcast, with a maximum of $2 million in fines. It's a finable offense. It's not like he's going to do hard time. It's not like he's going to spend more than 48 hours in jail. You know what I mean?
Right. And well, the thing should have happened because like they talked about how they were going to broadcast him national and all this stuff. Right. It's like it should have happened where it was just like, yeah, they arrested him and then they were going to have the fine. But instead of the fine, you know, some radio mogul, I don't know, you know, let's just say it's Ice-T. Ice-T comes in and is just like, I'm going to pay the fine. You know what I mean? Like, and you're going to like work for me now and like do your radio show because you're the voice of you're the voice of this generation. You know what I mean? Like that's how this movie needed to end.
And I like that. I like that, and that's very Hollywood of you to have a big celebrity come in and yeah, man, I wasn't getting royalties off the music he was playing, but yeah, man, and I get it. But basically that would turn into Oliver Stone's film Talk Radio with Eric Bogosian, where it's basically a guy who it's one of those lightning in a bottle type of situations where he's just, he's a radio DJ that takes the right phone call on the right night and has the right attitude and talks this, and all of a sudden it's, again, we all know it as viral. Back then it was just becoming popular. You know what I mean? Right. But then you see the highs and the lows of it all he's got this wildly popular thing, but that obviously comes with, personal, emotional, professional, mental prices along with it. And you could see, and again, it's a story that once you take out the goofy, evil school side of it, could be adapted into a very compelling, like I said, a Netflix series. Like I said it joking when I said it, but the more we talk about it, it very well could. The ups and downs of Hard Harry. I mean, first of all, change your name, pal. You can't say hard on the radio. You're gonna have to learn some things about this. Let me school you, son.
Let me school you.
Everything you business. Got. Let me school you about radio for a second. Everything you got popular for, you can't do.
Yeah, right.
So figure out a new thing. Here's a bunch of money. Figure out a new thing. Please don't develop a drug habit.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing that I thought was really funny when the movie started, right? And I was just like, oh boy, here we go. This is every single idiot I went to school with that was like a broadcasting major that wanted to like, I'm going to get on the radio and I'm going to tell it like it is. And I'm not, you know what I mean? And it's just like, oh.
Dude, that's every person I meet in a bar that I've ever had the dumbass move of saying I work in radio. Oh, really? Well, let me tell you how to do your job. Hey, pal, I don't come to your office and knock the dick out of your mouth. Don't tell me how to do radio.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, that's a trigger.
Yeah. Well, it's just also like, there are things you can't say. Like I can't say that
on the radio.
Like you can't say that on the radio. Can't swear. But it's just like, yeah, you're not edgy and like gonna, you're Alex Jones if you do that.
And it's something, again, like seeing a lot of people who get into, who try to get into radio, think they can get into radio, or that start podcasts and stuff like that. And it's something that, when Billy and I were doing the show, we actively did the opposite of. You and I never really had a conversation about it, but we don't do it. And it's just something I've always been very cringy to me, which is you're not edgy if you say you're edgy.
Yeah, 100%.
Like slapping a big uncensored. It's like the whole internet is uncensored, pal. Like you're not being like super edgy here. It's like just like we do this show, and we had a conversation before we went on the air about expanding the show in different avenues and having to do things like we did a radio show.
Right.
Okay, a year ago we did a radio show. It was a half an hour show, and we didn't curse on it. And it's one of those things that like I've dealt with it in radio a number of times, including the owner of that station said it to me, and I had the same response. You guys curse a lot, and my response is always the same. Nobody's paying me not to. This is how I talk. This is how I talk in my home at the dinner table. This is I am who I am. And I also have an almost 20-year career on broadcast radio where I've never cursed on the air. So I can be a professional if there's a paycheck involved. But just because I'm coming on here and talking like a goddamn adult doesn't mean I'm trying to be controversial, man. I'm not trying to be edgy, man. I'm not saying what they want. Like, I'm just saying what I want to say. I don't give a shit what you want to say. If you want to say something, God damn it, man. Like I said, you got a broadcasting studio in the palm of your hand.
Well,
open that motherfucker up.
And we had that conversation on the New Age Insiders, right? Where, we were like, look, here's the deal. We're not going to shy away because we always used to have, independent wrestlers as guests.
Right.
And they would always ask us, they were like, hey, like, what's the deal with the show? Like the rating. And we always said the same thing where it's just like, look, we're aware that this medium appeals to kids, and so like, if they listen, we're not going to, we're not going to sit here and drop 15 F-bombs in a row. But at the same time, if this, if we're watching Pool Boy drowning out the Fury,
Sometimes
and I just have to say, this fucking movie, it's my show and I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, that's the thing. And like you said, we've never talked about it, but we're kind of in the same thing where it's like, I wouldn't say that we consistently are vulgar for the sake of being vulgar. And that's a very distinct line.
Right.
And
you can usually tell when people are doing that, and because you can tell the people who are trying to, who think that cursing is edgy and controversial. And it's like, dude, you're really shoehorning those curses in.
Right.
Like I know I swear a lot. I have always swore a lot. I got in so much trouble as a kid because I have a fucking potty mouth. It just is what it is. And that's how I talk. But that's how I talk in everyday life, normal conversation. So, but again, I'm an adult. I can, again, 7 years on a TV show, almost 20 years on radio, never cursed once on any of those shows. Well, that's not true. I said fuck on Wicked Bites, but we beeped it.
Yeah, that's also different.
But that was done intentionally for shock value. Sometimes you have to do it that way for entertainment. So yes, I can be a hypocrite at times. But it's when it's, but it's one of those things you know when you're doing it intentionally. And we weren't doing it. We were just doing it to do it. It's like, let's just, I said shit. Like, you want to redo it? Oh, let's just beep it. Fuck it, man. It works, Right. Stuff like that. Whereas on this show, we just have conversations. And this is how Eddie and I talk to each other off air.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not like we're being like, all right, red lights on, get the fucks ready. That's not what we do. But there are definitely people who do that and think that, because, they look at, and again, it's one of those things. I've had these conversations too many times in a bar with people who find out I'm on radio, and it's like, oh man, you gotta follow the rules. It's like, yeah, they're paying my fucking rent. It's a fucking job, man. You don't play this song. I don't give a rat's ass what music they play. I play what my boss tells me to play because that's what he's paying me to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's like on this thing, we, and that was why, like, and yes, to a point, the Hard Harry character was one of those people.
Right.
But it was done in a way that almost didn't seem like it. Like, you could tell it was one of those people because, but under the guise of being a teenager in the 90s, it almost like he got away with it. If Hard Harry was an actual 40-year-old man talking that way,
right,
it's like, oh, well, he's just trying to appeal to the young kids, man. Talking about, oh man, my parents and school and stuff, man. Meanwhile, it's like, dude, you're divorced 3 times, man.
Right. Been divorced 3 times. Stop it. You don't know what the kids.
You have more child support than you do tuition payments.
Yeah, right. Oh, God. Yeah. So, but
wow,
all
we
in
went
all,
off on a tangent, huh?
Yeah.
God damn,
all in all,
me.
all in all, I really liked this movie.
Yeah.
Far more than I thought I was going to. It borderline made me, like, while I'm watching this, I was like, look, there's a global pandemic happening. I'm not really doing a whole lot. Like, maybe I'll try and just, like, do an hour radio show every day. You know what I mean? Because, like you were saying, it's just like,
I thought the same thing in the shower today.
You know what I mean?
Like, oh man, I got shit. But then it's like, nobody cares. That's the other problem with and the difference between that era and this. Now everybody does that.
Yeah.
Go on Twitch.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Everybody, you know, it's like, do I want to be another one of those people? You know, who's just coming on and again, God bless. I don't want to shit on your parade, Eddie. But,
oh no.
But this was just me thinking. I'm like, because I thought the same thing, because it's an infectious movie, especially when you do what we do. You're like, oh yeah, maybe because again, especially in a pandemic, we all have thoughts and we all have, you know, our brains are working way too much at times. And it's like, yeah, maybe if I just come on and talk shit for an hour a night,
right.
It will be therapeutic for me.
Yeah, right. Well, like, that's kind of how you have to. That's kind of how you have to do that sort of thing.
Right.
You know, is like you have to do it for you because, and I've been talking about this with people as I've like been trying to help develop shows and things.
Sure.
Is, you know, you're gonna get to a point where two people are watching, and it's just gonna be two people watching for a while, and can your ego take that? Right? Because that's what stops all of the people is that they're like, oh, everybody at parties tells me I'm so funny and I'm so creative and I'm hilarious and everybody wants to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so and then I should be in movies and I should do stand up and all this stuff. And then you post that first video on YouTube and nobody watches.
Not one of those people at the party clicked play.
Yeah, nobody did. Nobody did. Nobody watched it, right? And the problem is that you have to keep going. And can your ego handle having 6, 8 a year, you know, of not having anybody watch? Because that's what ends up happening. If I'm being perfectly honest, I don't have the access to the statistics. But like I have no idea how many people watch or listen to this show. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But we do it anyway because I like doing it.
Right. 100%. I could not agree more. And it's one of those things, especially like lately, I've been putting a lot of I've been making these little short films on Grand Theft Auto and putting them on my YouTube channel. Right. And I've been doing it because I fucking like it. You know, and that's ultimately, you know, I see it a lot, mostly in like social media, on different, you know, groups and stuff like that, where people are trying to build their audience and they're like, what can I do to get all these different views and subscribers? And I'm just like, and to me, it's like, if you're starting a podcast or a YouTube channel, or you're starting anything creative that's not paying you right off the bat.
Right.
And you're starting it because you think it's an easy way to get famous or get rich or even just pay rent, none of those things are going to come true.
No.
Real talk here. Let me turn my chair around like the guidance counselor at the Scared Straight program and spread my legs all wide. I wish I had a backwards cap to kind of do the Lincoln Hawk bit. Be like, let me tell you, kids, what the real talk is. It's not going to happen for you. But it's not. And you have to, if you're going to do stuff like this, like Eddie said, you have to enjoy it first. And like I said, I'm putting those videos up. And yeah, sometimes you're like, oh man, I worked really hard on that and nobody's watching it. That's kind of a bummer. But I still like doing it, which is why I keep doing it. When something you're doing for free as a hobby, for lack of a better term, becomes not fun, then why the fuck do you keep doing it?
The worst.
That's just what is it? Is it definition of insanity is doing the same thing expecting different results? Isn't that something like that? So that phrase, you know, it's like, this isn't fun anymore. Why are you continuing to do it? Why are you hurting yourself? You know what I mean?
Right. That was the worst thing to ever happen to the New Age Insiders was people listening.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that sounds really shitty, but it's like you end up crossing that threshold, right? Because that's a completely different set of problems where, you know, we do this show because we like movies and we like watching movies and we like talking about movies together. That's why we do this show. You know, where the New Age Insider and everything that was happening with that, we were just talking about wrestling because it was a fun thing to do. We lived together. We liked watching the shows together, and we sat and we talked about them, and people liked our opinion, and it was fun. And, we had a blast.
There was a time that you enjoyed the wrestling you were talking about.
Correct. And then what ends up happening is that you end up crossing that threshold where you end up getting a Patreon, right? Because that's the first level of monetization that kind of comes with podcasting.
Sure.
Is you ask your audience to financially support the content that they're getting.
Right.
And people did, and so now we've entered we have contractual obligation to do this show, to do these shows for these people that have paid their hard-earned money to listen to us talk about this stuff.
Yep.
And that's the worst thing that possibly could have happened, because now it's a job, and it's a poor paying job.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem of all of it. Because for this show, we didn't release a show last week. We got busy. And we were supposed to do this show last week.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was having a personal shitty week.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's what happened. But we don't
I didn't want to be entertaining last week. I just didn't.
Right. And so we didn't do the show.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that we don't take this show seriously, but
quite the opposite.
But at the same time, there's not that same level of business commitment that, some other former projects have had.
Well, it's like we referenced the radio show, and there was points in that year we did the radio show, the version of this show on the radio, where I remember, basically you and I would have similar weeks that we had last week, and we're like, I just don't want to do it, but we had to do at least that 30 minutes,
right?
And like you said, it was a shitty paying gig. But we had that obligation. We had a contract. We had showcase. It's like we had to fucking do it. So we would chug out those 30 minutes, and it's like sometimes you're like, oh, just take it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just take it.
Minimal pay. Here's minimal effort.
Yeah, right. Kobe.
Yeah. God damn, man. We could probably do a couple more hours just bitching about this stuff, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this hit home a lot more than I thought it was going to, because again, I thought I was going to watch a comedy with Brendan Fraser. So to be dealing with suicide and teen angst, where it was just like, oh fuck, there's a lot of
on such a relatable topic as well.
Yeah, this is really, really relating to a lot of shit that's happening right now from a content creation standpoint. My
God
parents.
Damn it, Mike.
My parents not understanding what I do at all, and being well, just go get a new job, and it's just yeah, but just going and getting a job is not the same as getting a job in my career.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Rough.
Yeah.
Hashtag fuck 2020.
Yeah. Hashtag fuck 2020.
Does that pump up the volume?
Yeah, that's pump up the volume.
All right. Thank you. If you made it this long, thank you for checking out this episode.
All three of you, because I assume 3 people listen to this.
All 3 of you fuckers. God bless you. Thank you for joining us on That Movie Show. Please follow Eddie and myself on all forms of social media at Mike Wendt, at the Eddie McCabe. Eddie's got some cool shit happening again on his TikTok now. He's got that back up and running at the Eddie McCabe. So definitely give him a follow, which I guess because everyone's doing it, you can just share it everywhere. So whether it's a fleet or a reel or a TikTok or a Facebook story, it's all there. So at the Eddie McCabe, at Mike Wendt. Yeah, and next week, I'm so happy about this. This isn't going to be quite as deep, I don't think. But it's a movie I've been trying to get us to do for, 3 years now. When I gave Eddie a DVD that he still hasn't returned, and now we're in a pandemic, and I think you have to keep it or burn it because COVID.
Yeah,
I don't know what the rules are on sharing DVDs at this point.
It's true.
But yeah, it's also on HBO Max if you want to play at home. Sexy Beast. Oh,
also,
yeah.
Completely unrelated, but you were talking about a movie that I borrowed. Do you still have that Murder VHS?
Yes, it is. It's at my brother's house in Linfield. When I moved last year, it got packaged up, and I think it's in one of the boxes at his house. So yes, I do still have it. No, I don't have it personally on me. So
that's fine.
But I do have a working VCR, so at some point I could probably get it, and that'd be a great end to 2020. Maybe New Year's Eve, I'll live stream myself dying. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, just watch that murder DVD.
COVID couldn't kill me. The Ring did.
Yeah.
Was the Ring the one where they watched the video? Was that the Ring? Okay, that was the Ring. Yeah. Okay, good. Great.
It's really funny because I remember
guy
that
gets
movie.
the right reference.
Yeah, I'm really glad. I'm really proud of you, Mike.
Thank you. Shit, man. Yeah, you know the drill. Thatmovieshow.net, Facebook, all the stuff, podcasts. Like, rate, review, subscribe. We're terrible at the endings of these shows, so we'll see you next week.
Subscribe. Bell.
Sexy beast.
Bye, everybody.
Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
That's Hooey Valley, Hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic